Hi, I'm Candace, and welcome to I'm Not a Doctor, where we take the health advice you've been spoon fed and ask, wait, does that even make sense? Today, we're tackling one of the biggest lies in modern nutrition, the idea that everything in moderation is the key to a healthy diet. I'm here to tell you why this advice doesn't work in today's society, and honestly, it never did. With ultra processed, highly addictive foods, sneaky marketing, and our brain's natural dopamine driven reward system working against us, moderation is just a trap that keeps us stuck in unhealthy cycles. Let's break it down. First, let's talk about where this phrase even came from. It sounds ancient and wise, right? Like something your grandmother got from her grandmother, but actually the idea of everything in moderation gained traction during the rise of industrialized food in the 20th century. As processed foods hit the store shelves in the 1950s and 60s, food companies needed a way to combat growing concerns around sugar, fat, and additives. So they leaned into this idea. Hey, it's okay to eat cookies and candy bars as long as it's in moderation. It was genius marketing. Instead of telling you to avoid unhealthy food, they told you to keep eating it, just not too much. The problem? Moderation is a subjective term with no actual meaning. What's moderate for me might be excessive for you. And when your product is engineered to override your body's natural satiety cues, moderation becomes nearly impossible. We live in a world where moderation doesn't stand a chance. Food scientists have created ultra-processed foods designed to make you eat more. These aren't just your grandma's cookies we're talking about. We mean chips, soda, cereal, and fast food that's been chemically engineered to hijack your brain. These foods are what scientists call hyper-palatable. They're the perfect combination of sugar, fat, and salt that lights up your brain's reward system like a Christmas tree. And here's where dopamine comes in. Dopamine is the feel-good neurotransmitter that tells your brain, this is great, let's do it again. It's the same mechanism that makes drugs addictive. So, when you bite into a bag of Doritos or a gooey brownie, your brain gets flooded with dopamine, reinforcing this behavior. Over time, your brain starts needing more and more of that food to get the same dopamine hit. That's why you can eat an entire sleeve of Oreos without feeling satisfied, but you never do the same with a dozen eggs. Food companies know exactly what they're doing, and everything in moderation is their favorite slogan. It sounds reasonable and even empowering, but you would never say drug addicts can have heroin in moderation. And if a drug dealer was saying that to an addict, of course it would sound ridiculous. People don't see themselves as food addicts, and that's why these companies can sponsor health initiatives and slap low-calorie labels on single serving packs to make you feel like you're making a good choice. But let's be honest. When's the last time you ate just one tiny bag of chips? Moderation might work if we lived in a world where food was simple, whole, and minimally processed. But we don't. We live in a society where unhealthy food is everywhere. At gas stations, schools, workplaces, even hospitals. And let's not forget portion distortion. A moderate serving size of soda in the 1950s was 6 ounces. Today, a small at McDonald's is 16 ounces and a large is 30. The food industry has redefined what moderation looks like, making it harder than ever to know what's reasonable. Then there's the issue of willpower. The moderation myth assumes you have the willpower to resist temptation every single time you're faced with an unhealthy option. But studies show that willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired over time. And when you're bombarded with hyper-palatable foods at every turn, it's not a matter of if you'll give in, but when. I'm sure you've all been in line at your favorite healthy grocery store. You've made all the right choices for the food in your cart. But because you have to wait in that line where they purposefully set up candy bars and small snacks, you give in. It's not your fault. So if everything in moderation doesn't work, what does? The answer isn't sexy, but it's simple. Focus on nutrient-dense whole foods that naturally regulate your appetite. Try as much as possible to cut out ultra-processed foods completely. The less you're exposed to them, the less power they have over you. Remember, you can't moderate these foods. A little bit of heroin is still heroin. And here's the most important part. Give yourself permission to eat in abundance, just not from the processed food aisle. When you eat real nourishing food, your body will naturally tell you when it's had enough. When you prioritize protein and fat in your diet, it's very hard to overeat. Your body will say, no thanks, I don't want any more steak. But I don't think anyone's body has ever said, no thanks, I don't want any more chocolate-covered pretzels. The phrase, everything in moderation, needs to go. It's outdated, unhelpful, and designed to benefit the food industry, not you. Instead of striving for moderation, let's strive for intentionality. Let's ask ourselves, is this food nourishing my body? Or is it just another dopamine hit disguised as a meal? Imagine a world where we stop treating Oreos and avocados like they belong in the same category, where we stop normalizing daily soda and candy as long as it's moderate. That's the world I want to live in, and it starts with questioning the narratives we've been fed for decades. Thanks for tuning in. If this video resonated with you, give it a like and hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend. Let me know in the comments, what's the most ridiculous everything in moderation advice you've ever heard? Remember, you are in control of your health. It just might take changing everything you thought you knew to get to where you want to be.